Tell them about it. I don't need to talk anymore. Thank you to Representative Akin for having me out here, having my father and my family out here, giving me the opportunity to tell a little bit about our story. Thank you for everyone that came out. Where's my wife? She's in the back playing with kids. Just real quick, my wife is back there underneath the tree playing with a child. I have 6 children, and they're all here in the heat. So I want to say thank you to my wife and my children for putting up with me, long hours at work, and my uncompromising ways. I just wanted to come and I was given the opportunity to tell and share a little bit of our story. I come to you as a battle-weary businessman who's been really looking at Obamacare for the last 2 years. We watched it pass along with a lot of other small business owners, and we kind of waited to find out what was in it and how it was going to affect our business. So just a little bit about Fitness Plus, so you're a little bit aware of the background. In 1995, Fitness Plus was started by my father out of his garage. At that point, we were a company that serviced exercise equipment, similar to an air conditioner repair company. And in 2004, we launched a website to sell parts for exercise equipment, and it really took the company and grew it quite a bit. In 2010, the prestigious Inc. magazine recognized us as the fastest growing company in Missouri. In 2011, we slipped a little bit, and we're still in the top 10. We were number 8 in Missouri, but we are a very rapidly growing business. We currently employ 17 employees, and so part of my story surrounds some of that. We fit underneath that 50 employee limit that's in Obamacare. So I guess to a certain extent we have some liberties, although they are being trampled on. So as I said earlier, we watched Obamacare get passed, and we waited to learn what was in it. In January 2012, the Department of Health and Human Services came out with a mandate that would require that business owners such as myself, who provide health insurance to our employees, would be paying for abortions. The mandate that came out in January talked about this birth control provision that would provide free birth control, but in that were Plan B and Ella, and those are abortive drugs that are abortive in nature. And so we were faced with the dilemma we provide health insurance to 13 of our employees. We were faced with the dilemma of, do we continue to provide health insurance to our employees and pay for free abortions, or is there some other way around it? We spent many hours talking to our insurance agents, reading on the internet. I spent a lot of time in prayer, really trying to figure out what we were going to do and how we were going to make this decision. We waited last Thursday. We were waiting for that Supreme Court decision to come out, hopefully in our favor, and not make it so that we wouldn't have to pay for free abortions for our employees. When it came out, we were obviously disappointed, as a lot of you were. Last Friday, we had a company meeting, and we had to inform all of our employees that effective September 1st, we were no longer going to provide health insurance to our employees, because we view this as God's business, and we view the money in the business as God's money. And so to that end, we have to be good stewards of that money. And I cannot in good conscience, we could not in good conscience pay for abortion services for our employees. We are a fast-growing company. I want to be clear, this was not a decision based on financial reasoning. This was a decision based on ethics and based on our religious freedoms being trampled on by the Obamacare mandate and by the HHS mandate that came out. We are actually working on a plan to kind of compensate our employees. Obviously, they're being negatively affected, and that was not our desire to negatively affect them. If Obamacare gets overturned, we will return health insurance to their employees, but as long as this stands, we cannot pay for abortion services. The media tried to frame this issue in particular as a kind of a Catholic birth control issue. And this was really about religious freedom. I've got nothing against Catholics. In fact, I'm very involved in the pro-life movement and very grateful to pro-life Catholics everywhere. But I am not Catholic, and neither am I against birth control. But I am vehemently against abortion. And this decision was not about being Catholic or not about birth control. This decision was about my religious freedoms being trampled upon by my own government, trying to force me to pay for abortions that I disagree with. This also affects my wife and my children. Like I said earlier, I have 6 children. We were all on insurance. I'm canceling my own insurance. We're actually moving to a medical cost sharing program that is not classified as insurance so that we can avoid paying for abortions ourselves. So this is not a decision that's just affecting our employees, it's also affecting me personally. But it is a stand that I must take as a Christian man, and that I can't violate my conscience and pay for that. I just wanted to, I guess, put in perspective a little bit of this. Some of you may be very aware of some of the statistics surrounding it, but I do want to put in perspective why this is such an important issue to me. The Second World War, it started in 1939, and it lasted until 1945. During those 6 years, Hitler killed 6 million Jews in the Holocaust. In the United States, we kill 1.5 million babies a year. It only takes us 4 years to repeat the same death toll of the Holocaust. This is a very important, one of the most important issues in our nation. To put it in a little bit more perspective, in the 18th century, estimates are between 10 and 20 million black people died in the slave trade. In the U.S., it only takes us 6 to 12 years to repeat that same death toll. It took 100 years of the 18th century slave trade to amount to that 10 to 20 million. Kind of surrounding that, I would encourage you, any of you, if you have the time, it's only about a 2-hour drive, to take a drive up to Springfield, Illinois, and visit the Lincoln Museum up there. It's a profound experience, and if you go in there with your eyes open, you will see that a lot of the arguments that surrounded this slavery are the same arguments that are being used today for abortion. Arguments like, well, they're property. I can do with them what I want. Arguments like, well, the Supreme Court already decided this issue, and so we don't need to discuss it any further. If you go to another Lincoln Monument, and you go to the Lincoln Monument in Washington, D.C., as you enter the building and you look at that big statue of Lincoln, on your left-hand side, you'll see Lincoln's first inaugural address. And on the right-hand side is Lincoln's second inaugural address. They're stamped into the walls. And I want to read you a quote from his second inaugural address. Lincoln said, "Fondly do we hope, fervently do we pray that this mighty scourge of war may speedily pass away. Yet if God wills that it continue until all the wealth piled by the bondsman's 250 years of unrequited toil shall be sunk, and until every drop of blood drawn by the lash shall be paid by another drawn with the sword. As was said 3,000 years ago, so still it must be said, the judgments of the Lord are true and righteous altogether." President Lincoln had a godly understanding that the Civil War was a direct result of slavery. He had a godly understanding. He said that until every drop of blood drawn with the slaver's lash shall be paid by another drawn with the sword. He had a godly understanding that the Civil War was a judgment of God upon the nation for slavery. How much more must we be aware of the issue of abortion in our nation and the increase that is coming with Obamacare of abortion in our nation? This amounts to the largest increase of abortion in our nation by our government. This law, as he said earlier, is evil and it must be overturned. We must get out politically, let people know, talk to our family, our friends, let them know that they have to make their voice heard in July at the primary, in November. We must, as Christian people, we must make our voices known to our government, and we do that in this nation through the polling booth. And sorry to Representative Akin, but even more so, as much as politics matter, even more so, prayer matters. We must spend time on our knees in our prayer closets. This is a matter of prayer. This thing gets overturned through fervent prayer. So, thank you for the opportunity to come out and tell and share how this legislation, this evil legislation, is affecting our business. It was a hard decision, and it was a difficult day Friday, probably the most difficult day I've had in my career. And I know I look young, but I look a little younger than I actually am. I do have 6 children. It was probably the hardest day in my career, and it was not a decision that I wanted to make, and it was a decision that my government forced upon me through this legislation. And it was not, I want to state again and be clear, this was not financially motivated. This was motivated by what was righteous and what was just. So this has to be overturned. We must repeal Obamacare. So thank you for letting me come and tell my story. Thank you.